I am Princess Zhaoyang, beloved by thousands. Yet I insisted on marrying Wen Yuheng, the concubine son of a noble family. In the end, it only brought me 7 years of confinement in a desolate temple, and left my own daughter mentally disabled and foolish. I watched helplessly as he secured a rapid promotion for his white moonlight, and helped someone else's child onto the dragon throne. How laughable that until his death, he thought he was paving the way for his own son, only to end up making a bridal gown for someone else. Ultimately, he met a miserable end, pierced by 10,000 arrows and left to rot in the wilderness. On the day when Yuheng's corpse was hung on the city gate to rot, I personally ended the life of the poisonous Empress Dowager, Liang Biue, perishing together with her. When I opened my eyes again, I had actually reincarnated back to the year I was 17. Choosing a consort. But now, though he has no memories of his past life, his eyes are red as he questions me over and over again why I abandoned him. Ever since the young emperor ascended the throne, I have been locked up here. 7 years have passed since then. Liang Biue has long secured her position as Empress Dowager. Now the world is at peace, yet she traveled to this dilapidated temple in the dead of night.
When Yuheng is dead, he committed the capital crime of treason. I've already ordered his corpse to be hung on the city gate for 3 days, to make an example of him to others.
Not a single trace of sadness could be seen on her face. There was only the immense satisfaction that comes after eliminating a major threat. The hand with which I was spinning the Buddhist beads came to a sudden halt, crossing the river and tearing down the bridge, killing the donkey once the grinding is done. This was destined to be his end all along.
You are actually not surprised. I am not.
He always felt he could outsmart the whole world. He was scheming and calculating, yet he failed to see through you. Many years ago, I predicted he would face this calamity. He actually fell out with me because of it.
When the young emperor first took the throne, he was short-handed and needed help everywhere. That was the only reason I used him. But now that the grand situation is settled, if we still let a powerful minister like him control the court, how could the empire ever be stable? I am merely cleaning up the imperial court and apprehending a rebel.
I decided to expose her directly. Is it because everyone is whispering that the young emperor is actually the love child of you and Wen Yuheng? If he doesn't die, these rumors will never quiet down. How laughable that he still dreamed of climbing to the highest office, thinking that nothing could ever stand in the way of your family's reunion. I suppose he never could have imagined that he would ultimately die by your hand. A family of 3. Liang Biue sneered with utter disdain on her face. My dearest princess, since things have come to this, I might as well share some wonderful news with you. Yours indeed of the long family bloodline. He is the late emperor's biological child. I set a trap for Wen Yuheng and deceived him into believing that Yuar was his own flesh and blood. For the past 10 years, he has fought tooth and nail to support us, never once asking for anything in return. So that is how it is. I burst into loud laughter, declaring bluntly, what perfect retribution. Wen Yuheng thought he was helping his own son ascend the throne, never realizing he was merely a stepping stone for someone else's child. Now that I've killed him, you ought to be absolutely thrilled. After all, when he rushed to save Yuar back then, he delayed the rescue of your own child, leaving him permanently brain damaged and forever trapped with the intelligence of a 6-year-old. How could you not hate him to death? But that was merely my way of putting him to the test. Liang Biue's voice carried the smug tone of a spectator watching a play. You are right. I do hate him. With those words, I drew the dagger hidden in my sleeve and plunged it deep into her neck. By the time the guards outside rushed into the room, it was already far too late. For many years, I had been waiting for an opportunity to end her life with a single strike, even if it meant dragging her down to the grave with me. To my utter astonishment, I was reborn, returning to the age of 17. The moment I opened my eyes, my maid was looking at me with a face full of anxiety.
Princess, please do not do any more foolish things for that young master of the Wen family. You have been unconscious for 3 whole days.
In my past life, just after the emperor issued the imperial decree for our betrothal, a fiancé from Zhangnian suddenly appeared on his side. Back then, I underestimated Liang Biue too much. She actually managed to fill the capital with gossip. The imperial family was in the wrong, and the officials were gossiping endlessly. Stubbornly, I refused to back down at the time. Because of this, imperial father scolded me severely. I fell gravely ill after being caught in the rain. In fact, before the marriage decree, I had asked him if he had someone else in his heart. Standing straight and tall, he clasped his hands and said,
If I can have the princess's favor, I will definitely dedicate my life to repaying it.
Who would have thought that the moment he turned around, Liang Biue would rush to the capital, clamoring everywhere that she and Wen Yuheng had a childhood betrothal. I went to confront him, and she swore to the heavens that she had no knowledge of it. She explained that the Liang family had long since fallen into ruin, and they completely lost touch after the flood in the south. The clan thought all of the Liang family had died, so they never mentioned this marriage alliance again. The emperor, fearing that others would seize this pretext to say the imperial family was using its power to bully people, thought about retracting the marriage decree. It was Wen Yuheng who knelt outside the Taiji palace, pleading for 3 days.
In my heart, There is only Princess Zhaoyang. I have no room for anyone else. I truly cannot fulfill the betrothal made by the older generation. I am willing to acknowledge Lady Liang as my sworn sister, repay her handsomely, find her a good husband in the future, and see her married off in grand style.
As it turned out, in the middle of that very night, this lady, Liang, threw herself into the lake to commit suicide. Thank goodness, she was quickly pulled out by the servants, so she was physically unharmed, but this incident made the situation look even worse.
Princess, I would rather endure the curses of the whole world than change my mind.
Even though he relied on his own ability to become an official, his power was not yet enough to escape the criticism of the capital. The capital cursed him for trying to cling to the imperial family's thighs, which wasn't exactly an unfair accusation. He indeed needed a stepping stone. After Liang Biue threw herself into the lake to commit suicide, I thought she was just a stubborn girl, clinging tightly to the betrothal made by the elders. I was indeed the one in the wrong back then. I tried everything I could to make amends, but she refused. Yet, when I offered to just let them be together, she suddenly changed her tune. She demanded to see the crown prince to help me resolve this major trouble. My imperial brother agreed, of course. She entered the crown prince's manor, and I had no idea what she said to him, but my brother told me that the trouble had been taken care of, and that I should just focus on preparing for my wedding. The very next day, she came to our door to call off the engagement. Back then, I always wondered what terms could have made her agree so willingly. It wasn't until 3 months after my wedding that she actually became the crown prince's consort. It turned out that was her real price all along, trading her consent to call off the engagement for the position of consort. I woke up on the very day Liang Biue went to the crown prince's manor to negotiate. I rushed over immediately and saw my brother sitting at the head of the hall, sipping his tea with an air of absolute authority. As he listened to Liang Biue state her terms, he only smiled and shook his head.
If you seek wealth and fame, I will grant it all. I have only one sister, Zhaoyang, and I only wish for her to live a comfortable life. Though the crown prince's manor is prestigious, it is a place of endless trouble. If I truly loved someone, I would never have the heart to trap her here for life. Why must you willingly wade into these muddy waters, Miss Liang?
Seeing him sitting there majestically in his imperial robes, my mind, however, filled with the tragic image of him lying bedridden from a grave illness in my past life. Your Highness, you are handsome and elegant. I have feelings for you, and only wish to stay by your side forever. A hint of mockery flashed through my brother's eyes. He looked furious, but I absolutely could not allow such a menace to remain by his side again. Brother, I'm not getting married anymore. I rushed out from the corridor in the back. My brother's eyes immediately filled with anxiety. He reached out to support me, complaining,
You haven't even recovered yet. What are you doing running out here?
I'm not getting married anymore. Brother, you don't have to let anyone blackmail you for my sake. As soon as I said this, a flash of panic immediately crossed Liang Biue's eyes. She seemed to be trying to read my face to see if I was telling the truth. I added once more, my interest in Wen Yuheng was just a passing whim. Now, I've grown tired of it. Since his fiancée has come all the way to the capital, it is only natural that we should happily let them be together. Still half doubting, she asked.
Really?
Yes, seeing the earnest look in my eyes, which did not seem fake at all. Liang Biue began to panic. Wasn't the princess madly in love with the young master of the Wen family? Why the sudden change of heart? Your Highness had better think this through. If you take this step back today, he will belong to me forever. Once the two of us are wed, if the princess wants to make a scene again, it will be completely unjustifiable. Every single word she spoke seemed designed to sting me, trying to force me to show that I still cared about Wen Yuheng. But today, even if she spoke flowers into existence, she could forget about ever making me soften my heart toward her again. The Wen family's illegitimate son is of lowly birth, making him a perfect match for a destitute girl like you. I don't care for him anymore, so I'll gladly give him to you for free. As for the position of crown princess, you are not worthy of it. My blunt and merciless scolding instantly turned her face pale. Her hands clenched tightly inside her sleeves, as if she couldn't bear such direct humiliation, her entire body trembling. Biting her lip, she walked out of the crown prince's manor, her eyes filled with hatred. My brother looked dazed.
I really have never seen you fly into such a rage before.
I personally went to the Taiji Hall to beg Imperial Father to rescind the imperial decree. When the marriage was bestowed previously, I truly did not know he had a betrothal from childhood. As an imperial princess, I should set an example for the common people. I must never snatch away another's beloved. I am willing to step aside to fulfill their union. The entire court of ministers praised the princess for her wisdom and decorum, remarking on her noble character, which is as pure as an orchid. A look of approval flashed in Imperial Father's eyes.
My good daughter is the finest in the world. Naturally, A better young man will match with you.
In this lifetime, I will never let my family be put in a difficult position because of this matter again. As I walked out of the Taiji Palace, I felt an immense sense of relief wash over me. The heavy burden of my past and present lives seemed to be lifted from my heart all at once. By the time Wen Yuheng rushed over, it was already a done deal. Yet, amidst the drizzling rain outside, he stubbornly waited outside the princess's manor, demanding a clear explanation.
If the princess does not give me a satisfactory explanation today, I will absolutely not leave this place.
The servant running the errand had a face full of worry. When I stepped out holding an oil paper umbrella, a look of joy instantly surged onto his face. I saw that he was drenched from head to toe, looking utterly miserable. Yet I stopped on the steps and did not take a single step forward. Since the imperial marriage is off, I wish you and Miss Liang a long life together, loving each other for a lifetime. His usually calm and unhurried face now wore an expression of disbelief.
Before I left the capital, didn't we vow never to fail each other? It has only been a few short days. Why have you changed your mind?
But at this moment, what flashed through my mind was another rainy night. He was dead drunk.
Biyue is the only one who truly understands me. She understands my ambition and my grievances. She knows what I want. Rong Zhao, from the moment you were born, you were a noble princess. You don't understand at all. You don't understand what people like us have to risk our lives for just to get a little something. I truly regret it. I regret not listening to the elders about our betrothal back then and missing out on a good wife.
He truly regretted it later. I stood on the steps, looking down at him. Wen Yuheng, if you had to give up your future official career to live a carefree life forever, would you be willing? His gaze darkened, and he remained silent for a long time.
Why must you force me to choose? You never used to force me to make choices before. You always used to help me.
And what if I won't help you? After several years of marriage in our past life, his ambition grew, and he was no longer satisfied with petty wealth. He had his eye on a high-ranking position in the Ministry of War and wanted me to pull strings for him. When I refused, he turned around and stayed away from home for half a month. Later on, he secretly hooked up with Liang Biyue behind my back. By then, my brother had already become the emperor, and Liang Biyue had been made an imperial consort. One wanted to climb the ranks in the imperial court, while the other wanted to secure her position in the harem. The two hit it off immediately. When it came to Liang Biyue's child, he was always 1,000 times more caring than he ever was to my Jinging. When both children fell into the water during winter, he chose to save another man's son first. Jinging suffered a high fever for days. Ever since then, her mind has been stuck at the age of 6. Yet he said,
Jinging is our daughter. Even if she has become simple-minded, she will still live a life of luxury. But Yuar is different. He has a chance to become emperor in the future. We cannot afford even the slightest mishap.
There was not even a speck of love or care for his biological daughter in his eyes. My dear daughter never got to live a single day of the peaceful life she deserved. She should have been the happiest and most carefree girl in the world. Yet she had to live under the strange looks and harsh ridicule. Those people didn't dare say a word to her face. But behind her back, everyone said the princess was a total fool. My third brother passed away early, and the young emperor ascended the throne. Back then, there was no one left who could keep him in check. He became an official of real, immense power, rising to the highest position of chancellor. But he spent every day hanging around the Empress Dowager. Ever since then, rumors have been flying everywhere, with everyone questioning the young emperor's true parentage. This time, he has no memory of his past life. Yet he actually still has the audacity to come and question me so righteously. I will never bend the law for your personal benefit. Are you willing to lose your official post?
Princess, you were the one who broke your vow first. You are the one who let me down. It is not I who have wronged you.
His voice dripped with hatred, filled entirely with resentment. After all this fuss, even when placed in this situation, he is still full of resentment. He can't even pretend to be calm anymore. Compared to the debts he owed me in our past life, this little incident doesn't mean a damn thing. I mocked him with a cold face. So what if I dumped you? My tone carried a hint of amusement, as if watching a play. So what if I did? He yelled at the top of his lungs, questioning me with a face full of resentment. What good would that do anyway? Right now, the emperor is in power. I am an esteemed royal princess, while he is just a cheap, constantly trampled bastard son with an unpredictable official career. What right does he have to come here and talk this nonsense to me? He indeed has talent, which is why, in his past life, once he seized the opportunity, he was able to change his fate against all odds. But this world is full of countless capable people, losing his luck and backing from his past life, with no one to serve as his ladder to the heavens, and no one to act as his stepping stone, relying solely on his personal ability. How could he expect to rule the world? The contempt on my face stung him, snapping him back to reality instantly. In the last decade or so of his previous life, he held great power in his hands and controlled the imperial court, colluding with Liang Biyue. Back then, how could he have ever listened to me? The frustration, indignation, resentment, and pain he feels today, I have tasted them all long ago. In fact, the torment I suffered back then was 100 times worse than what he faces today. Once the gates of the Princess Manor closed, I enjoyed a peaceful sleep. Now that I have voluntarily stepped back, neither Wen Yuheng nor Liang Biyue seems happy. Instead, they are frowning with worry. Their betrothal from childhood can no longer be used as leverage by Liang Biyue, nor can it help her secure a way into the Crown Prince's manor. Now everyone in the capital is watching their betrothal, wondering how this farce will end. Gossip is a double-edged sword. It helped him before, but now it can ruin him. Driven into a corner, she had no choice but to go to the Wen family again, to force them to honor the marriage contract. This grand drama is no longer something he can control or end. On the day she arrived at their door, the entrance of the Wen family was crowded with people, but the words Wen Yuheng spat out were as chilling as if they had been soaked in ice water.
Miss Liang, you are full of schemes and wicked to the core. You are by no means a good person. This marriage, Wen will never agree to it. You use the marriage contract to threaten me, simply because you covet the Wen family's wealth.
His eyes. He didn't seem to want to spare Liang Biyue another second of his gaze.
Marriage should be a mutual agreement. By forcing it today, you will surely bring suffering upon yourself in the future.
His words were incredibly harsh, leaving everyone stunned. The very soulmate he had yearned for so much in our past life now felt like poison he was being forced to swallow. He used the harshest and coldest words just to drive Liang Biyue away. As for the gossip and the curses on the streets, he didn't care about them at all. It made sense. As the son of a concubine, he was long used to hearing people's gossip. What did a little finger-pointing matter to him? His refusal to marry Liang Biyue and his desperate attempts to humiliate her would have been, without a doubt, the biggest joke I'd ever heard in my past life. But Liang Biyue was truly fortunate. In this life, she once again found favor with my extremely biased imperial grandmother. Strictly speaking, between her and my imperial grandmother, there indeed existed an inescapable, ill-fated bond. In my past life, in my brother's harem, she was the only one who caught that old woman's eye. Though they had no fate to be grandchild and grandparent in this life, and she couldn't become her granddaughter-in-law, she could still win her over. It was because when the Empress Dowager's old illness flared up, and even the Imperial Academy of Medicine was helpless, Liang Biyue offered her family's miraculous medicine, which surprisingly cured the illness completely. She deliberately shed tears before my imperial grandmother, prompting her to ask for the whole story. With the current Empress Dowager backing her up, the first wife of the Wen family was summoned and severely reprimanded. This marriage, like it or not, had to happen. Later, the all-powerful Wen Yuheng despised nothing more than the days he spent behaving subserviently in the Wen family. But now, the Wen family was forcing him to marry Liang Biyue. How could he accept this? On their wedding day, the groom dragged his feet during the bridal procession and missed the auspicious hour. When it came to entering the bridal chamber, he left the bride entirely alone. Before this marriage even truly began, they already seemed like sworn enemies. I know very well that with Liang Biyue's clever schemes, she would surely find a way to change his mind again, as long as I made sure he didn't regain his memories of the past life. I asked Imperial Father to find me famous masters, to teach me archery and horse riding. I wanted to learn the divine archery that never missed its mark, to personally hold the blade and play a game of cat and mouse. This was merely the beginning. In the 3rd month of his marriage, Wen Yuheng submitted a petition requesting a provincial posting. He was serving in the Ministry of Rights, which held no real power. He would have to spend his entire life under the wings of the Wen family. This was definitely not what he wanted. If he were posted to the provinces as a local official, and if he achieved notable results, he could be transferred back to the capital and secure a major promotion. In his previous life, everything went smoothly for him. He didn't need a provincial posting at all after his marriage. He simply rose rapidly through the ranks of civil officials, arousing everyone's envy. Until later, when he grew too greedy and delusionally tried to seize military power. Because I refused to help him, he colluded with Liang Biyue in secret. In this life, there will no longer be such a smooth path waiting for the two of them. In her previous life, after Liang Biyue married into the Crown Prince's estate, even if my brother had no romantic feelings for her, he never mistreated her. She enjoyed all the wealth and honor due to a consort of the Crown Prince. In this lifetime, the Wen family's den of wolves is already enough to exhaust her life's blood. That clever scheming she was so proud of can no longer latch onto imperial power, nor can it help her win a chance to change her destiny against the heavens. She can only remain in the back courtyard of the Wen estate, fighting a life-and-death struggle against her mother-in-law and the maids. Even if she causes a massive uproar, she will only ever be trapped within the small Wen family. I heard that on the 2nd day after their wedding, she was scolded while serving tea to the first mistress of the Wen family. A bowl of scalding hot tea was splashed directly onto her hands. The first mistress of the Wen family looked down on Wen Yuheng, who was born to a concubine, and naturally looked down even more on a destitute orphan girl. There was also a fierce cousin, who had been secretly in love with Wen Yuheng for several years. She went on a hunger strike to threaten everyone, making a scene to demand to be Wen Yuheng's equal wife. She ridiculed Liang Biyue and opposed her at every turn. During the grand birthday celebration for the old madam of the Wen family, her sisters-in-law mocked her to her face, saying she came from a humble family and simply couldn't present herself in polite society. She was scolded in front of everyone, and her eyes welled with tears of anger. However, suffering such grievances did earn her Wen Yuheng's sympathy. After marrying in, she acted humble and submissive, yet suffered all kinds of degradation from the entire Wen family. They despised her for having no family backing, leaving her with no recourse. This was exactly how Wen Yuheng had grown up. When those people humiliated her, it was as if they were humiliating Wen Yuheng as well. The words mocking her lowly birth were also mocking him. She remained incredibly shrewd, redirecting the contempt and insults toward Wen Yuheng. It wasn't until the first madam spoke up and scolded her.
A concubine's son and a poor girl are equally scheming, always playing dirty tricks and dreaming of reaching high social status overnight.
That she stepped forward, filled with righteous indignation. The madam may scold me, but you must not humiliate my husband. He is the best man in the world. Even if he suffers temporarily from his humble birth, he possesses great capability and will surely have a boundless future. This made Wen Yuheng realize that in the Grand Wen family, no one looked up to either of them. They were the ones in the same boat. And only she truly understood him. On the day Wen Yuheng left the capital, he took her with him. When we met at the city gate tower, his anger and resentment from that day had long vanished. The moment he caught sight of me, he deliberately took Liang Biyue's hand. He seemed to have suppressed his temper and instead walked up to greet me.
That day I lost my head and offended the princess. Fortunately, my wife talked me down, allowing me to see who is truly of one mind with me.
That she achieved all this did not surprise me at all. In their past life, Wen Yuheng refused to marry her at first, feeling not a shred of pity for her. He would still be able to make him change his mind over the course of the following years. In this life, he cannot reach my brother, so he will definitely cling to Wen Yuheng as his saving straw. My gaze slowly swept across them, and I said with a smile, "Then congratulations to the three of you." There was a deep meaning in my smile. Wen Yuheng did not remember the events of his past life. What a pity. Living this life over again, he still exposed his back to his enemy. I really look forward to the day, whenever it may be, when he gets to taste the excruciating pain of 10,000 arrows piercing his heart once more. A few months ago, Miss Liang was still trading her marriage certificate to exchange it for the position of the Crown Prince's consort. Yet, in the blink of an eye, she is of one mind with Lord Wen. Her mind is truly too complex to fathom. As soon as my words fell, her face turned pale, and she glanced at Wen Yuheng in panic. Wen Yuheng's expression did not change, but his eyes flickered wildly, as if he were about to fly into a rage. The only reason he didn't blow up right then was that he did not want to lose face in front of me. In our past life, he had no idea that Liang Biyue's prompt calling off of the engagement was a transaction made with my brother. He thought she was sensible and obedient, and felt guilty toward her in his heart. Wen Yuheng was reassigned to serve as the deputy official of Qingyang County, a ridiculously petty post. In his past life, he would never have deigned to look at it. Not to mention that Qingyang was remote and a desperately poor area that could barely even pay its taxes. I reckon this was not for him to choose. As for me, I had long since applied to Imperial Father to study at the Imperial Academy. Imperial Father said such a precedent had never been set, but I insisted that he break this rule for me. They simply did not admit female students. That day, after I called off the engagement, he had secretly promised me a wish, just to make up for it. Now is the time to cash it in. I want to learn the 6 arts, master the various schools of thought, practice writing and archery, memorize historical texts and study the various nations. In this life, I must understand the rise and fall of dynasties. My vision should not be confined only to the small inner courtyard, but should encompass the entire world and the country. I cannot just shrink back under the wings of my father and brother. In my past life, my brother protected me for half my life, and I lived in peace for half my life. But once he left, there was no longer once my brother left, there was no longer anyone to protect me. In this lifetime, I will not be a delicate flower nurtured in their pot. I too can withstand the wind and rain, and help the emperor pacify the world. By understanding the law, I will not be a burden to my brother, but will instead become his capable helper. My entry into the Imperial College, on the contrary, made several high-ranking court officials scheme. They also wanted to squeeze their daughters in, making up a pleasant excuse that they were to be my study partners. I saw through their selfishness long ago, but I accepted all comers anyway. The third daughter of the Minister of Revenue, and the commandery mistress from the Duke's estate, daughter of the Grand General of Wei Yuan, all rushed into the Imperial College at once. On the surface, they were counted as my study companions, which managed to pass muster. These girls were sent here by their families, each with her own hidden agenda. Some indeed possessed real talent, and could showcase their abilities here. Some wanted to forge marriages for their families, to reel in a wealthy husband here. And there were others, who purely wanted to flatter me on purpose. I am the Crown Prince's biological sister. By getting on good terms with me, they would reap nothing but benefits. What a coincidence, I also happened to plan on making contact with those high-ranking court officials, and they just happened to serve as a bridge. During the year, I entered the Imperial College. At the end of the year, Father came to inspect the coursework of the Imperial College students. Those with talent naturally wanted to show off desperately, to please Father. so they could become high officials in the future. The useless, spendthrift sons were naturally frantic with worry, trying desperately to muddle through, lest they get a severe beating upon returning home. Some wanting to muddle through was precisely the perfect opportunity for me. That day, Imperial Father sat there, and I stood right beside him, attending to him as he wrote, and noting down his evaluations of those students' schoolwork one by one. However, when he randomly checked an essay, he flared up in anger, flung his sleeves, and left. Everyone was completely dumbfounded, leaving only that student behind, kneeling on the ground in terror, bowing his head to admit his mistake. A few days later, the scandal of the Vice Minister of Ministry of Personnel selling offices for money was completely exposed, and he had long been severely punished by Imperial Father, implicating a whole host of people. My brother came running to find me. At that moment, I was practicing my calligraphy. He waved his hand to dismiss the maids, and stood beside me, grinding the ink himself, his face showing a bit of confusion.
Sister, just who do you think that Vice Minister of Personnel offended?
Why couldn't he just be a villain? Who got the retribution he deserved? I did not look up at all, answering casually with perfunctory words. Our third brother has lost a major supporter. I suppose he is so angry he cannot sleep at night. Brother let out a chuckle, but as he was leaving, he could not help but ask.
I heard that having Imperial Father randomly check the students' essays to spot talent for official service was actually your idea.
The tip of my brush paused. It was purely coincidental. Brother did not press further. Some things can be coincidental, and they can also not be coincidental. What angered Imperial Father that day was not the content of the essay, but rather the handwriting. The one who brought disaster upon himself was none other than the only son of the Vice Minister of Personnel. Imperial Father had long since ordered a secret investigation. The high officials had formed cliques, and several secret letters had been intercepted, but the letters were all written in code. The handwriting was also deliberately falsified. It was indeed written by high-ranking court officials, but no real names were specified, so the investigation had to be hastily wrapped up. Those fake handwritings simply couldn't be traced to anyone. Who would have thought that the profligate young master of the Ministry of Personnel read them at home every day, and easily learned the fake handwriting his father had specially altered. A few months ago, I happened to see his writing at the academy, and deliberately praised the young master's handwriting for being wild and grand, possessing the style of a great master. When Father inspected the papers, he certainly wouldn't want to miss the chance to show off, and accidentally let the cat out of the bag. Besides, the academic records at the academy can be checked at any time. I merely linked these countless coincidences together to let the Emperor see the evidence with his own eyes. The position of Vice Minister of Personnel is too critical. If he were allowed to keep causing trouble like this, the entire court would eventually be filled with the third prince's faction. The third prince wants to compete with the crown prince. Eliminating one of his helpers can be considered a small warning to him. Good news came from Yizhou. The local area adopted a new farming method and welcomed a bumper harvest. The taxes paid were several times more than before. The emperor was very pleased and highly praised the prefect, directly promoting him. Even the crown prince, upon hearing about the local new method, couldn't help but offer a few words of praise.
This local official took the lead in building terraces and canals, reclaiming barren mountains, and setting up mutual aid cooperatives. Even the remote, impoverished areas have had a bumper harvest. It seems this official indeed has quite a few tricks up his sleeve.
But I felt something was not quite right. These new methods, were they really thought up by that prefect of Yezhou? The crown prince thought for a moment and said,
That is indeed what is written in the memorial.
I shook my head with a cold smile. One must also introduce drought-resistant, high-yielding crops, paired with intensive and meticulous farming methods to ensure long-term bumper harvests, rather than just a single year of abundance. This was the method that Wen Yuheng and I came up with in our previous lives. The development plan submitted now is simply incomplete. It is missing exactly the part that I figured out, but even this part that was submitted could not have been the work of the prefect of Yezhou. It could only have been devised by Wen Yuheng. The crown prince also seemed to realize something.
Are you saying someone stole the credit?
I did not take a stand. Wen Yuheng was currently serving in Qingyang County, and Qingyang County happened to fall under the jurisdiction of Yezhou. If it was the method he taught, it was indeed possible that his superior took the credit. I let out a cold laugh. It seemed Wen Yuheng's path in officialdom in this lifetime was truly turning out to be full of obstacles. The crown prince wanted to investigate further, but I stopped him. I merely said flatly, this prefect of Yezhou is unfit for grand tasks. As for Wen Yuheng himself, he should be used even less. For the emperor's grand birthday, the princes entered the capital to offer their congratulations. Songs and dances fill the air with peace and prosperity, as cups and glasses are clinked and exchanged. But I had absolutely no heart to watch, because I knew a major upheaval would occur tonight. The sky lanterns would burn down, the grand hall would catch fire, and assassins would charge in. At this time in my past life, I was already married outside the palace, and did not know how this turmoil was suppressed. I only knew that during the chaos, Liang Biue took a stray arrow for the emperor, securing his wealth and status for many years. Not until the crown prince passed away and the young emperor ascended the throne did he tell me without any scruples the person who shot that hidden arrow was someone I arranged amid the confusion. As night fell, the newly built zhaoyang pavilion was brightly lit. The emperor had to ascend the high tower to personally light the sky lantern, to pray for the people, pray for peace in the land, and pray that the empire would remain tranquil forever. But in the next second, the sky lantern fell to the ground from on high. It seemed someone had doused it with tung oil beforehand. In an instant, a massive fire erupted. Many assassins clad in black charged in during the chaos. The crown prince, having long been hinted by me, "Where is the imperial guard?" But we still underestimated the combat strength of these people. The crown prince led the imperial guard to kill the assassins, while the attendants escorted the emperor to evacuate zhaoyang tower. But the assassins pursued relentlessly, and a blade was about to reach the emperor's neck. At this critical moment, I picked up a longbow, fired arrows in rapid succession, killed the assassins, pressed forward, step by step, and saved the emperor. I led him to hide in the palace's secret passage. As the stone doors fell one after another, we were temporarily safe. This passage led outside the palace, where dozens of my people were waiting to receive us, helping me escort the emperor to safety along the way. We temporarily settled down in a residence outside the palace. The emperor's expression was grave. Tonight's situation was critical, far exceeding expectations. He slapped his hand heavily against the back of his chair.
Tonight's assassins came with such ferocity, catching the palace guards completely off guard. Where exactly did the problem lie?
I remained silent and did not answer. His eyes fell upon me.
Zhaoyang, what do you think?
Since your majesty asks, I will make a bold guess. There must be a mole among the secret guards, failing in their duty of covert surveillance. Your majesty once established the Xuanjian department as the royal secret guards, to secretly investigate the officials and the princes. Yet tonight, with such a massive disturbance, not a single word of warning was received. Isn't that highly unusual? By dawn, the fire in the palace had been extinguished, and all the assassins had been wiped out. The few remaining survivors had bitten their tongues to commit suicide. The crown prince came in person to receive the emperor, although he was safe. Before returning to the palace, the emperor asked with a suspicious look,
Zhaoyang, how did you know there was a secret passage in the palace?
When I was a child accompanying grandfather in the palace, we also encountered an assassination attempt. It was grandfather who took me to hide in the secret passage. The emperor's expression softened, and softened considerably. I knew he would ask this, but grandfather had long since passed away, so he naturally had no way to verify it. He looked at the guards beside me, and said in a deep voice,
Zhaoyang has rendered meritorious service in rescuing us. You are hereby appointed to take charge of the Jishui Pavilion of the Xuanjian Bureau, to conduct a thorough investigation and purge the traitors.
The Xuanjian Bureau is divided into 3 divisions. One is the Xianchan Mansion, which is in charge of intelligence gathering and monitoring the officials. Another is the Jishui Pavilion, which handles intelligence verification and purging moles. These 2 divisions serve as the emperor's eyes and ears. The last one is the Jingzhe Hall, responsible for arrests, protection, and preventing infiltration. It specializes in operations and is the emperor's sharp blade. These 3 divisions check and balance one another, and they had never been governed by a princess or any secret guard before. Although I only took over the Jishui Pavilion, it was still no small feat. This subject accepts the command. I will never disappoint your majesty. While I was busy reorganizing the Xuanjian Bureau, I heard some rather unpleasant news. When Wen Yuheng was fighting local bandits, he risked his life and took several slash wounds. When word of this deed reached the imperial court, it naturally called for a great reward. He would soon be transferred back to the capital. However, I secretly received intelligence that this was merely a show orchestrated by Wen Yuheng. At great effort to secure a promotion, those so-called bandits were also arranged by him. As for those slash wounds, though they looked terrifying, they were actually just superficial flesh wounds, and the person helping him pull off this act behind the scenes turned out to be the 3rd prince. The 3rd prince helped him return to the capital. After all these years, they have actually banded together. Enemies from a past life have actually formed an alliance in this life. Upon Wen Yuheng's return to the capital, he had already become the vice minister of the Ministry of Revenue. He brought Liang Biue back with him. When we met at the Marquis Guide's estate, his face was full of smugness.
Princess, I will definitely prove to you that even without your help, I can still climb to a high position. In the future, you will regret what you did back then.
But these words gave Liang Biue, who was beside him, quite a fright. I had already noticed earlier that she was distracted. When she looked at Wen Yuheng, there was actually fear and worry in her eyes, and even a trace of ambition and malice. This look I had seen before in Liang Biue's eyes when she became Empress Dowager in my past life. Back then, she was probably also scheming on how to eliminate the great threat before her eyes, to rid herself of future troubles forever. Now, he had accompanied him through all the bitterness and hardships in Qingyang County, and endured enough of others' cold mockery and sarcasm. It should be the perfect time for her suffering to end and happiness to begin. A time to hold her head high. She shouldn't have had that look in her eyes, unless her panicked and fearful reaction pointed to only one possibility. She had also remembered the events of her past life. She remembered even earlier than Wen Yuheng did. Just thinking about this, I couldn't help but want to clap and cheer. I deliberately said, Lord Wen is truly one to hold a grudge. I merely called off a marriage proposal. Yet, it is worthy of your resentment for so many years. If someone were to deceive you and kill you, wouldn't you want to hack them into 1,000 pieces? Liang Biu's eyes darted around in avoidance, and she couldn't help but shudder. Her having this reaction made it completely certain. From then on, sleeping fitfully and losing her appetite was just the beginning. She shared a bed with him. Yet she had to live in constant panic and fear every single second, racking her brain every single day, terrified that at some unpredictable moment, Wen Yuheng would also remember the events of their past life. From now on, there would be no marital harmony, only a heart full of suspicion and guard. I stared intently at the two of them, feeling nothing but sigh in my heart. In his past life, he had longed so much to stand at the peak with Liang Biu, and no one stood in his way. In this life, they naturally became husband and wife, yet they did not know how to cherish it. When the day of realization finally comes, I wonder how miserable they will be. I intentionally leaked a top-secret message within the Xuanjian Bureau, claiming that in 10 days, we would clear out the moles hidden in the capital. By doing this, those who were hiding behind the scenes actually grew anxious. As this top-secret news leaked out of the palace, those people hastily fled. With this movement, it actually allowed me to follow the clues to the source. The root of the chaos in the palace was the Prince of Huayang. The assassins who appeared that day were all from martial arts sects. As for the Xuanjian Bureau, there was indeed a traitor. The secret memorials sent from Huayang had all been intercepted and failed to reach the palace. I reported this truthfully to the emperor, but the emperor did not wish to make a big fuss at this moment. He said, now is not the best time to deal with the Prince of Huayang. I knew exactly what he was waiting for. He was waiting for the crown prince to take the throne, to personally eliminate a treacherous minister, thereby imposing authority over the imperial court and establishing his prestige. Over the years, the Prince of Huayang had been restless, harboring treacherous designs. Piece by piece, the evidence was now complete. Although I did not know the details of this in my past life, I knew clearly what end befell the Prince of Huayang. Thinking about it now, I understand that he was a whetstone the emperor had specially left for the crown prince to practice on. For now, this matter was temporarily suppressed without a word, pretending to be ignorant of it, which served perfectly to mislead the enemy. The emperor fell ill. It looked like a minor ailment, but I was on high alert, tending to him devotedly by his bedside. For one thing, I knew very well that the emperor's days were numbered. He would succumb to illness this autumn. The empress had passed away early, and the time he had left now was less than 3 months. He called me to his bedside and spoke slowly.
Zhaoyang, you have grown so quickly these past few years, far exceeding my expectations. The little girl who once needed protection can now stand on her own. I am truly gratified.
A lump rose in my throat, even as the emperor. He could not escape the limits of mortality. I only hoped he could spend his remaining days in peace. He pressed a command token directly into my hand. It was the tally to mobilize the entire Xuanjian sect.
Your brother will make a good emperor, but his heart is too soft. He lacks an iron fist, so you must help him carry out the necessary deeds.
I slowly accepted it. In the beginning, he only allowed me to manage the Zhishui Pavilion of the Xuanjian sect, using it to check and balance the Xianchan Court and Jingzhi Pavilion, keeping them wary of each other. But this token today meant that the entire Xuanzhen sect fell under my sole jurisdiction, to move at my command. I will assist Brother Well in stabilizing the court and keeping the officials in line.
All right.
My brother was created crown prince at the age of 7. Over the years, he earned an excellent reputation in court and was universally recognized as the future emperor. He would be a good emperor and a benevolent ruler. Brother is benevolent, but he is no coward. He will surely defend the royal empire. Please rest easy, father. While undercurrents surged throughout the court, the crown prince took charge of state affairs. But when Yuheng blocked my path at the training grounds, he picked an argument with me and actually used provocative words to goad me, and accusing me of hitting him.
Princess, even if you are of royal blood, you cannot simply beat a court official.
With that shout of his, he drew the attention of everyone around us. Everyone's eyes locked onto my riding whip. I raised my eyebrows and sneered, since he was so intent on framing me, rather than taking the blame for something I didn't even do. I might as well make it a reality right now. I raised my riding whip and lashed down hard several times. The whip whipped through the air with a fierce wind, instantly lacerating his flesh and making him bleed profusely. The horse he was riding was also startled and began to bolt, making him lose his balance and sending him flying several meters away. But in the next second, he unexpectedly fell headfirst off the horse, hit a rock, and knocked himself out cold on the spot. I dismounted and walked over, checked his breathing, and sneered. He is still breathing, call the imperial physician. After saying that, I rode away. That he could resort to such a shameless, underhanded trick was indeed beyond my expectations. After all, in my past life, he would have looked down on such dirty tactics. But in this life, having aligned himself with the third prince, he was willing to throw away all dignity just to win. I had already figured out what his motive was for putting on this show today. Next, he would incite public outrage, and the ministers would submit memorials, saying I was spoiled and arrogant, forcing the crown prince to punish me. If the crown prince refused, he would be accused of favoritism, which would disappoint the officials. On the surface, they were targeting me, but in reality, the spearhead was aimed at the crown prince, while a storm was brewing outside. I was at the Xuanjian division flipping through page after page of secret letters. Wen Yuheng still thought of me as I used to be. Assuming I was just the crown prince's dead weight and weak spot, he was completely wrong. I wouldn't mind playing along with him and the third prince. Creating a diversion would buy the crown prince some time to stabilize the court. But if he crosses the line, the dirt I have on him is more than enough to ruin him. Sacrificing a pawn to save the rook. When the time comes, he will be nothing but a discarded pawn to the third prince. The petitions accusing me piled up high on his desk. Yet the crown prince paid them no mind, and instead said unhurriedly, "Let them make a fuss for a few days. Let them have their moment of triumph. I will settle the score with them when the time comes." To everyone's surprise, early the next morning, Wen Yuheng woke up from his coma. Before his head bandages were even removed, he rushed to attend the morning court. His attitude took a complete turn. In court, he took all the blame upon himself.
It was I who offended my superior first. The fault lies with me. The princess was not at fault at all. The horse was startled and went wild, which caused my fall. It was an accident and has nothing to do with the princess.
With the victim suddenly changing his tune, the officials who had submitted petitions were left in an awkward position. They could only slip away in embarrassment. What was even more unexpected was that, after Wen Yuheng returned home with his injuries, he immediately put Liang Biue under house arrest in the backyard, ordering his men to keep a strict watch on her, and forbidding her from taking a single step outside. When my subordinate reported this to me, he was still utterly bewildered. I, however, plucked a blooming magnolia flower, and remarked in amusement, "In this lifetime, Wen Yuheng has finally remembered." The Wen Yuheng of this lifetime would absolutely never have done something so absurd. A surge of excitement rose in my heart. If he never remembered his past life, it would be meaningless even if I defeated and killed him. I wanted nothing more than for him to remember, and then watch with his own eyes as he ends up with nothing, utterly defeated, and then, surrounded by nothing but betrayal and exploitation. He would be instantly consumed by despair and agony. Wen Yuheng snuck in, under the cover of night, but he did not enter through the main gate. By the time I saw him, he was already in the main courtyard. His entire aura was completely different from a few days ago. All his rashness and ruthlessness were gone. His eyes were dark and unreadable. From the moment I entered the courtyard, his gaze remained locked dead on me.
When we first got married, we lived here for 3 years as well.
His hand brushed over the table.
Deeply in love as husband and wife.
His eyes filled with memories.
3 years of mutual respect.
I had the craftsman completely renovate the princess mansion long ago. Every single plant from the past is gone. I replied coldly. He seemed to notice the mockery at the corner of my mouth, forcing a bitter smile.
The day you broke off the engagement, I said the wrong things. I wronged you. It is not that you wronged me. I don't hold any resentment in my heart. I brought this all on myself,
he said quietly. But this retribution was barely the beginning. He had yet to reach the dead end he was destined for. Now that he was mixing with the third prince, he was playing a dangerous game with the tiger. His death was likely not far off.
Wrong Zhao, in my past life, I was blind. To have failed the one who truly cared for me.
He quietly lowered his head, swallowing his words when he looked up again. It hurts to have your sincerity trampled underfoot, doesn't it? With a smile on my lips, my words carried a double meaning. His hands slowly clenched into fists, a storm brewing in his dark eyes, filled entirely with resentment. In our past life, didn't you long to fly side by side with Liang Biue every single day? Your sweet dream has come true. Why don't I see you smiling? I sat down slowly, staring at him as if watching a good show. He gave a bitter laugh.
I reaped what I sowed, and died a horrible death. Seeing me come to such a miserable end. Wrong Zhao. Can you let go of your anger?
His tone was humble and subservient, as if he were begging me. In the last decade or so of our past lives, we had long since become enemies. When I was locked up in that ruined temple, he was rising rapidly through the ranks, controlling the imperial court. Back then, he propped up the young emperor, staying by Liang Biue's side, below only one person, but above tens of thousands. Now, what right did he have to shamelessly ask such a thing? Do you know where you were buried after you died? hung on the city gate tower to bake in the sun for 3 days, enduring all the curses of the common people, and finally thrown into the wilderness to feed the wild dogs. His expression shifted slightly, yet his tone remained surprisingly calm. He actually knew what had happened after his death.
After I died, my soul drifted around the capital for 3 days. I saw with my own eyes the arrows piercing my heart, and my corpse hung from the gate tower. I also know Yuar wasn't my biological child, but of the wrong family's bloodline.
So after all this time, he had understood everything. His throat tightened as he spoke slowly.
I hate the heavens for being unfair. Why didn't they let me be reborn first? That way, I could have seized the initiative and made amends with my life. Wrong Zhao, since we can start over in this life, why can't you give me another chance? I promise I'll treat you better than in our past life. 100 times, 1,000 times better.
I shook my head and replied, the past life is long dead and gone. In this life, we are mere strangers. I flicked my sleeves to dismiss my guest. The emperor was clearly on his last legs. All eyes in the imperial court were fixed on the emperor's bedchamber. The sovereignty of the empire could change hands in a matter of days. The crown prince's brow furrowed tighter and tighter, the dark circles under his eyes growing more alarming by the day. He already felt the suffocating weight of the burden on his shoulders. As I left the palace to return to my estate, someone suddenly threw themselves in front of my carriage, blocking my path. I lifted the curtain to look. The person collapsed in front of the carriage was actually Liang Biyue. She was covered in blood, with new wounds layered over old ones. It was obvious he had been subjected to private torture. There were indeed several vicious old maids in the Wen family estate. Wen Yuheng had probably handed her over to them to be tortured. There were surely even more wounds hidden beneath her clothes. Her hands clutched the edge of the carriage tightly, like a drowning person grasping at a straw.
I can tell you many things you don't know. Yuheng has harbored sinister intentions. Everything he did was to deliberately get close to you.
He still thought that only he and Wen Yuheng had been reborn. He lowered his voice conspiratorially, trying to keep it a secret, and continued.
Wen Yuheng has gone mad. He is secretly colluding with the third princes to help him seize the throne. The third prince promised to give you to him as a reward once they succeed.
I looked at him coldly. The way he looked now was no different from a stray dog, wagging its tail for food on the street.
I only beg to keep my worthless life. If the princess is willing to save me, I am willing to reveal their entire conspiracy.
His face was full of panic, looking left and right, terrified that someone might be pursuing him. Did he still remember that in his past life he was the high and mighty Empress Dowager, ruling from behind the curtain, enjoying boundless glory? Do you still remember those peonies in Zhangfeng Palace? I looked at him askance. Those were the peonies he had planted with his own hands, luxuriant and grand. In his past life he treasured those flowers above all else. Just as in this life, he racked his brains, trying to snatch the position of the Empress. His expression suddenly froze, his knees went weak, and he fell straight backward, as if he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. I looked up into the distance. A group of servants and rough work maids were rushing over.
Greetings, princess. Our madam has been ill for a long time. Her mind is muddled, and she often goes mad and hurts people. We fear she has startled you, princess. We will take her back to recuperate now.
I said with a cold face, since she is mentally ill, take her back and lock her up tightly. Do not let her out to cause trouble again. Several people pounced forward and pinned her down firmly.
Wrong Zhao, after I am dead, you are the next one he will deal with.
Her eyes widened, and she screamed excitedly, is that so? Is that so? But he will die by my hand. Liang Biyue, my brother did not die of illness in his past life. Instead, you secretly administered slow-acting poison, didn't you? Her face stiffened suddenly. It seems I guessed correctly. The messy debts between the two of you have nothing to do with me. I casually let down the curtain, leaving all her heart-wrenching cries far behind me. It is truly a fine sight to watch dogs bite dogs. 10 days later, I changed into plain clothes, took only a few attendants, concealed my identity, and went to Tianning Temple to offer incense. Those secret guards all disguised themselves as commoners and slipped in. At night, the bells of Tianning Temple rang 2 hours early. Those who were lying in ambush around the temple were all eliminated. Standing on the high ground of the back mountain of Tianning Temple, I looked toward the palace in the distance. Tonight is destined to be a sleepless night. Liang Biyue thought she was still of use, but in fact the Xuanzhen division had already figured them out completely. Wen Yuheng had made an agreement with the third prince that on the night of the full moon, they would use the midnight bells of Tianning Temple as a signal to attack the palace. But tonight, the bells rang 2 hours early. Fearing that their plan would be exposed, they had no choice but to take action ahead of schedule. My brother had long been waiting for them, atop the high palace walls. At dawn, when the first light of dawn illuminated the mountaintop, my brother had already sent a letter in his own handwriting. Succeeded. Just those 2 words. I led the secret guards of the Xuanzhen division back to the palace. The third prince committed suicide out of fear of punishment, and the entire Wen family was thrown into prison. Wen Yuheng begged to see me in prison, but there was nothing left for me to say to him. I refused to see him. The very next day, he committed suicide in his hell. In this lifetime, both he and Liang Biyue were wrapped in cheap straw mats after they died, and thrown into a mass grave. No one offered incense for them, and no one burned joss paper either. The emperor succumbed to his illness, and my brother ascended the throne. He bestowed upon me the title of Grand Princess of the state, granting me Yuezhou as my fiefdom, with the tax revenues of 10,000 households under my control. The ministers of the Xuanjian division urged him to install an empress, but he kept hesitating. I knew he kept a portrait hidden away, which he never let anyone see. On the day Grand Preceptor Xiao resigned and returned to his hometown, my brother went to see him off in person. Even after the carriage had gone far away, he still couldn't bear to look away. Did you ever ask her what she really wanted? He knew exactly whom I meant. With a bitter smile, he said,
I did. She found the deep palace suffocating and people's hearts too complex. She didn't want to be locked up for life. Others would fight to the death for the position of empress. Yet, she disdained it. I bestowed upon her the title of Commandery Princess and granted her the freedom to marry whom she chooses, hoping her wishes will come true.
The one my brother loved deeply was the eldest daughter of the Grand Preceptor. They had grown up together as childhood sweethearts. In our past life, she also refused to enter the palace and followed her family back to their hometown. It seemed that in this life, she still chose the same path. On my way home, I was riding my horse through the streets. As the spring breeze blew, it felt warm and pleasant. Outside an orphanage, a little girl of about 7 or 8 was crying incessantly. I pulled out my purse, which happened to contain a few pieces of osmanthus candy. I dismounted and walked over. I handed the osmanthus candy to the little girl and reached out to brush her hair aside. The moment I saw her face clearly, I froze right where I stood. My voice trembled, and I couldn't help but feel like crying. She took the candy and gave me a sweet smile, her eyes incredibly innocent, yet filled with utter confusion. She looked so much like her. This child was an orphan, seemed a bit slow-witted, and had no parents. I took her small hand and asked with a smile, would you like to come home with me? She nodded at me. Perhaps she didn't even understand what those words meant. Standing before the grand gates of the Princess Manor, she looked a little frightened and shrank back behind me. I patted her head and said, "This will be your home from now on. Even if you remain like a child for the rest of your life, I will make sure you are well fed and clothed, and no one will ever dare to bully you."